Hi, it's Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. We have yet another amazing legend of cricket, that is Australian cricket specifically, and that is a very young-looking, almost Peter Sterling-looking Ian Davis. I better first do. I'm going to do one thing here. I'm going to make sure that I don't get a reverberation of your voice. Okay, right. So we have Ian Davis here. Hello, Ian. How are you?
Hi, Norm. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I've had the opportunity, viewers, to interview Ian before, and that was an amazingly interesting interview. He had a lot to tell us. Now, let me just give you a bit of a briefing on Ian as far as his story is concerned, if you're not fully aware. It's Ian Charles Davis. I'm not sure how many times you get called Charles. Maybe your wife calls you Charles when she's angry with you. I don't know.
Sometimes.
But, sometimes. So Ian is a former Australian cricketer who played in 15 tests and 3 ODIs from 73 to 77. Mind you, there's a lot of cricket you played during the World Series cricket time that would add to those 15 tests. How many would you say you would have played that would be deemed to be tests all round if you include everything?
I think we played 6 super tests in the 2 years with Kerry Packer. So another 6. Yeah.
So 21. But in effect, you could have almost doubled that again because of
probably
it was real conditions. But Ian was an opening batter and he retired from first class cricket in 1984. But he was still active in all sorts of sporting aspects when he was working for Dunlop Slazenger until 2010. And even Spartan beyond that too, weren't you, at certain stages as well? So Ian's had an amazing career. Those of you, he had I would argue, an elegant way of batting. You're a good hooker and puller, I remember as well. And you drove nicely. You were into all of that. But your contemporaries were amazing. Tell me a few of the players that you played with and some against, just up the top.
Yes, well, I think the era I played in the 70s was one of the great eras. We had a great side. Greg Chappell and Ian Chappell were in the side. Rodney Marsh, Doug Walters, Dennis Liddy, Jeff Thompson, Rick McCosker, Kerry O'Keefe was the spinner, and we had an amazing side back then. And all
you opened with McCosker, didn't you? You
opened with McCosker I opened with him in the Centenary Test when he broke his jaw and came back and basically helped us win the game by batting in the second innings with a broken jaw and the big bandage around his head. And I opened the batting with Kerry O'Keefe in the second innings, which was quite good. But McCosker to come back after having 3 fractures in his jaw 2 days later was really amazing. No helmets in those days, of course.
So run me through that. Were you batting with him when he broke his jaw?
No, I just got out actually. And Bobby Willis, who actually when I played that game, I was surprised how quick he was. And he's a tall guy, he was a tall guy, about 6'5", very aggressive bowler, and he's a lot quicker than I thought he would be. And Rick went to hook one, hit him flush on the jaw, and came in and his jaw came up in a big lump. And obviously went to hospital, had it all wired up, and came back 3 or 4 days later to score 25 runs in the second innings, which was amazing. It's a great game, that one.
That is amazing. That's amazing. So, it's just dawned upon me. I actually had a guy by the name of Simon Willis on last night. Now, Simon is a coach now. He's fledgling his cricket. He's been involved with ECB and with Sri Lanka. I'm now beginning to wonder, do we have the son of Bob Willis there? I'm not sure. Maybe not. I think because he did mention his father played. I was scratching my head. Maybe I wasn't thinking careful. I've got to check on that one. So it might well have had a bit of a connection there anyway. Look, Ian, you've subscribed to my YouTube channel, which I'm very impressed with. I'm expecting to watch everything from now on. But interestingly enough, we've actually had Jeff Thompson on before and Dougie Walters.
Yep.
And the likes of Monty Panesar and a few others. And look, you can imagine what Jeff was talking about. He had to be careful what he said, but he said some very good things. And I went to Dougie's place. Now we're more beer cans than gardening gnomes in his place.
That'd be right.
That was pretty amazing. Yeah. So they're great friends of yours, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, Tomo's a great mate of mine. Tomo and I are great mates. We still talk pretty regularly, nearly every week. And we actually lived together for 8 months when I played for Queensland in 1976. I played 1 year for Queensland. So you can imagine what that was like. That was an experience.
Oh.
But no, I love Tomo, and Dougie's a household name. And he was my first captain, my first roomie when I played for New South Wales, and you know, I learned a lot off Doug. So two great friends.
So we might wait till past midnight for the late night version of what happened with Jeff Thompson and Doug Walters in the room. But we shouldn't put this too public. But the Indian audience may not like that as much. But I can imagine Jeff's incredible now. I can just imagine when he was at his full flighted best. It must have been just amazing. And I'm sure you relived those moments.
He was gifted, and never hurt his back, always had a strong back. I was talking to Rod Marsh about a year ago. He came and had a game of golf with me, and I was saying, do you think Tomo was as quick as the blokes today? Because I was thinking, you know, divers and runners and sportsmen of today, they're all much fitter. They must be stronger. So I find it hard to believe Tomo would bowl that much quicker than him or quicker than him at all. And Rodney said, well, look how far back I stood to Tomo, and he was a long way, you know, he was halfway to the fence. So Tomo was just gifted. I think he was clocked at 160. Yeah.
Sorry?
I think he was clocked at about 155, 160. So, you know, it tells a story of its own.
But Lenny Pascoe and even Maxie Walker have said to me, or when Maxie was here, of course, they both told me many a time that some of the deliveries they swear were beyond 160 and 170, and one in particular where it was a short ball that bounced over the keeper's head and hit the side screen on the full. Did you recollect that sort of moment?
Yep. I remember that very well. And I also remember playing, we were playing Western Australia in Perth on, you know, the bouncy wicket, and Bruce Laird, who you'd know, he's a really fine test cricketer, kept cutting him, Tomo, straight over, slips for 6 into the grandstand. That's how quick the ball was going. He just got a little bit of bat on it, and over it went for 6. It was amazing. He had great pace. Yeah.
I can imagine, especially when he was a bit cranky, I guess, too.
Yeah.
He was getting cranky.
Yeah, he wasn't nice at times.
But you were a New South Welshman for most of your playing career, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I played for New South Wales originally. Then in '76, I had that 1 year in Queensland, then went back again to New South Wales, and then sort of replayed a few tests. So I'm from Nowra, down in New South Wales, which is on the Shellhaven, about 100 miles south of Sydney. A really pretty place, right. And I think there was about 11,000 people there. So to play Test cricket from there was probably remarkable more than anything. I used to drive up every Saturday morning with my father, 4 hours up, 4 hours back, just to play grade cricket. So it was an amazing time.
Amazing. So I guess you would have coined Sydney the Big Smoke back then, did you? Or?
Yeah, the Big Smoke was scary. I was a country boy. So it was a big culture shock to turn up and see all the trains and buses and people, and a bit of a shock. But anyway, I moved up when I was about 18 to Sydney so I could, you know, enhance my career. So
you're on the Gold Coast now, which is in Queensland, aren't you?
Yes. I'm living at Century Cove, which is a really nice spot on the Gold Coast.
Oh, certainly. So have you got much involvement now with cricket? Do you watch cricket as much as you used to?
I still watch a bit of it. I still enjoy the Test cricket probably more than anything else. And I'm trying to like the 2020, and I don't want to be one of those old guys that goes, you know, it was better in my day and all that sort of thing. So I think I played in one of the first ever night games, the 50-50 over game. So I want to be positive about that. And I like the current players. I mean, it's a different game today. When you think about the advent of the helmet, I think it's made a big difference to the safety of the guys and that sort of thing. Even the pads and gloves with the special foams they use where the ball hits it, and dies pretty well straight away. And that's a big improvement. A heart pad, arm guards. I mean, I played one game in Queensland, and Tomo was around as well at the same time, and a mate of ours who was living with us at the time got killed, hit on the heart, playing a grade game at 23 years of age. So
really,
it is great to see that sort of protection there. I think it's changed a lot. The boundaries have come in a little bit, and the bats are just enormous. The bats are huge compared to when we played. So it's a totally different game, really. I mean, to hit a 6 at the MCG when we played was something special. Viv Richards could do it and a few other blokes, but today they just clip it off their toes for 6, and it's amazing. So the bats are big. The bats are big.
Now, you've mentioned Viv Richards there, Ian, and we had his brother Mervyn Richards on a couple of nights ago, and I don't know whether you ever met.
I haven't met Merv,
Viv's
no.
brother Merv.
Yeah.
He is probably more suave and more sophisticated and more, in a pleasant way, womanizer. But he would kiss people on women that is on the hand. I call him the Pope, actually. I had a nickname called the Pope because he kissed more hands than.
Yep.
Anyway, I had him on a couple of nights ago, and he and I are great friends. And we're going to have a series with Merv running it from Antigua, and we're going to bring in as many of the West Indian legends as we can over time. So that'll be exciting. There's a lot of them in Antigua. You got the likes of Viv, you got Kirtley, you've got Andy Roberts, you've got Winston Benjamin, Ridley Jacob, David Joseph. There's quite a few there. Of course, Viv as well. Richie Richardson. So that's quite a crowd. So we might sneak you into one of those meetings.
Well, I mean,
so you might sneak you into one of those.
Saying about the 70s when I played, they were the great side then. The 70s, 80s. Clive Lloyd, Viv, Holding, Marshall. Holding, Roberts, Garner, Croft, Larry Gomes, Haynes, Greenwich. They were a great side back then. And we'd play a 50-over game, and I think they had to bowl 10 overs each, and they'd have 5 blokes by 150k. So it wasn't a lot of fun, but amazing time. And Richie Richardson, I really like as a guy. We at Slazenger, he was a decade above, after me, and I remember at Dunlop Slazenger, I won't bore you too much, but at Dunlop Slazenger, we noticed he had no brand on his cricket bat when he came to Australia to play in 81 or 82. And we at Slazenger were doing the Bradman cricket range to raise money for the museum. And we noticed that, so I rang him up and I said to him, I'd love you to use a Bradman bat, because a lot of people were scared to use it because it had Bradman right down the back of it. And when they went out to bat, everybody gave him a hard time, so it was hard to sell them. So anyway, so he said, yes. And I said, I'll offer you $12,000. He said, I'm not worried about the money. I just want to be able to meet Sir Don Bradman and have lunch with him at his house or something like that. If you can do that, I'll use it for 4 test matches. Anyway, so I rang up Sir Donald, and Sir Donald said, yes, fine. I'd love him to use the bat. It'd be great. Be great for the brand. Anyway, so I arranged the luncheon. I had it in the backyard at Sir Donald's, and the media were there, and it was fantastic. And I rang Richie the next day. I said, how did it go? He said, Ian, it was just amazing, but I will take that $12,000 as well. So there you go. So it was a good story, that one.
Have you got, now this is impromptu, but have you got any of your bats floating around? You got in another room? Can your wife grab a bat out?
No. My wife's very disappointed in me, actually. She's a beautiful New Zealand girl, my wife. And I had 7 baggy greens and I've got none left, to be honest. And I'd hate to tell you what I did with them, because back in those days, we'd get one every series we played, and I played quite a few series, 3 against New Zealand, 1 against Pakistan, etc. And I remember I've given a couple to charity, of course, but I also gave one to a friend of mine in Nowra who brought me through when I was a kid as a thank you. And then there was a guy called Tony Branson who played rugby league on the 68 Kangaroo Tour. And he and I were both, correct, yeah, we're both from Nowra. And our fathers knew each other's fathers really well. And we had a bet when we were kids, 15. And he said, if you play for Australia at cricket, I want your baggy green. And he said, if I play for the Kangaroos, I'll give you my jumper. And that's exactly what happened. I gave him mine, he gave me his. He was first. And then I think the worst story of the lot is when we'd had a few grogs at Trent Bridge. I think we're coming out of Trent Bridge one night in England in 77 Ashes Tour. And we'd all had a few grogs. And a Bobby came up to me and he said, oh, do you want to swap your cap for my Bobby's cap? I said, yeah, no drama. I threw him my bag and he threw me his Bobby's hat. That was really silly. That was dumb. So I've got none left.
So that Bobby had it. I guess you haven't got that anymore, have you?
I don't know where it is. No, I've got no idea. How bad's that? And when my mother-in-law found it, she's in New Zealand, when she found out about it, she wasn't too happy either. She thought I should have done the right thing and kept at least one. So I didn't, mate. I've got none left.
But you've had. But look, I mean, I would cherish the Test cap, obviously. But when it comes down, when it boils down to it, the fact that you played for Australia, you've always got that within you. You don't have to necessarily have the hat to prove it. Yeah. So I guess that's
when I played. I think Steve Waugh made it something really special. Yeah. And I think it got more important. And in hindsight, I should have kept one. But anyway, went to good causes.
So you mentioned Adelaide, or you mentioned Donald Bradman, okay, in Adelaide. So did you have the privilege of going to his house yourself?
I did. Well, he was chairman of selectors when I first played, so he picked me.
Right.
Obviously wasn't very happy with me when I went to World Series cricket, so probably wouldn't have spoken to me by then. But when I went to Dunlop Slazenger in the 80s, a mate of mine called Rob Mansfield, you might remember him, he ran Optus and Telstra and a couple of other businesses. He was on the board of the Bradman Trust, and they wanted to raise money to build that museum down in Barrel and to build a big extension onto it. And he rang me up and said, I'd love you to do a Bradman range and give me 15% royalties on every sale or whatever for the next 3 years. And so we signed off on that. And he said, come down on a plane next week and we'll go and see the Don at his house for lunch. So, yeah, I went down, had lunch with him. He was really happy. We had a game of golf the next day at Kooyonga, I think it was. And he could play golf.
Golf, was it?
He had a game of golf with the Don, yeah. And he was competitive as hell. I think he was 83 or something and had 79 off the stick, and just walked down on the golf course with a white shirt on, with a long white business shirt and a pair of business trousers, and looked $1 million, you know. And we had a great day, and I've still got the photo. I don't know whether you knew I wrote a book in 2004 called More Than Cricket, and sold about 10,000 copies. And one of the feature chapters was on Bradman, and there's a photo of Sir Donald Bradman and myself playing golf. So it was pretty good. Yeah.
Have you got that book there with you?
No, I haven't got a copy of the book yet. I'll give them all away. How bad am I going? But it's on Amazon for about $20.
What was the name of it again?
More Than Cricket, and wrote it in 2004. And yeah, you still get it online, but I've given quite a lot away to my mates. But we ended up doing about 10,500 copies and gave a lot of money to charity, which was nice. You know, Alan Jones,
very nice,
who you know well, wrote a back page for me, and Rob Mansfield did the forward. So it was lovely to have those two guys associated. And obviously Alan was great because he promoted it quite well and it sold well. It's good.
I was actually on Sky News the other week, which is his actual show. He has a show called Inside the News, which he hosts now. He's on a holiday break, and Catherine McGregor was the host, and I came on for a number of guest appearances. And Alan Jones is an incredibly generous man. He helps a lot of people, doesn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. For him to do that was sensational, really. So it helped a lot.
There is a question here, because we've got questions coming up too, and I'll give you a few. I've got a fellow, I think it's a fellow called Niranjan Banda. He's asked the question, if not for cricket, what would you be doing, Mr. Davis?
I think I would have, if not for cricket, I would have played golf, I think. I love my golf.
Really?
Yeah, really love it. I mean, at Century Cove here, we've got 2 nice courses, and I'm a member there. I play, don't tell my wife, but 3 days a week. She thinks it's only 2, so that's good. But, yeah, I would have done that. I mean, I've got no regrets, but probably golf, yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, that's a good question. And there is another question, which I'm not really sure whether I want to ask, but I'll keep it to a bit later. It's a bit more controversial than I think about at this moment. Okay. Now, look, Ian, I'll come to it later. I'll think of a way of saying it without making it too controversial. What's your current take? First of all, have you played in India or against India?
I haven't played. I have played against quite a few of the Indians when I went on the Ashes tour. We played against Bishan Bedi and quite a few of the spinners, Prasanna, and quite a few of those guys. I haven't played a test match there, but I've been to India quite a bit. Obviously went up to Jalandhar to do the cricket ranges, and a friend of mine called Pashi Sondi, who owns a massive, you probably know of him through Harry Solomons, but has a big factory up there. He makes the bats for New Balance now for Steve Smith. And
this is Jalandhar, is it? Jalandhar.
Up in Jalandhar, yeah. It's called Sondi and Co. And I went up there 5 or 6 times. We played a few games. I love the place. I think it's great.
Yeah,
so that was in Delhi and then up
Jalandhar,
into
Ludhiana.
Ludhiana, went up into the Punjab, went to the Golden Temple. Really great, yeah.
Amritsar.
Amoritz,
I've
that's
had
great.
a great.
Yeah.
I'm
Did
very
you have
blessed.
the aeroplane flight
I
there?
love it.
Fantastic.
Sorry?
Did you get on the aeroplane from, I think it's Amritsar, isn't it? I don't think it turned up the day I was there. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to go to Amritsar when they had Vaisakhi, which is their yearly like New Year's Day, I guess it is, in April. And I was literally the only non-Indian there, and I had the best experience. I was treated like a king, and food galore. Not that I need to have too much food, but yeah, there was plenty of food there for me, and it was great. All right, let's return back. So, with India currently, I'm sure you would have seen the Gabba Test. How did that impact you? What was your feeling watching that?
Well, I obviously think India are a very good side, and I think they might have 4 teams that are, a top Test teams, maybe 5. But I thought the young guys played really well. I thought 350 would be enough, but I was talking to someone recently, and I thought the game's changed a lot, and I think a lot of those record chases will be broken. When you think the boundaries probably come in 10 metres, the cricket bat's massive now. I mean, you look at Pant, he batted beautifully, but he was just leaning on the ball and it was going for 4. And I think the run chases are going to be a lot easier to get, but I thought they're a very good side. They played great. We tried hard. I didn't think Lyon turned the ball as much as I thought he might, but the wickets were pretty flat. And all credit to them for saving Sydney as well. I mean, that was a great save. They're going to be hard to beat. India. They're a good side. Yeah. I didn't want to be too hard.
The fact is that
because I thought, India played damn well. And I think we tried hard, we bowled hard. I think, there's a lot of criticism there, but the bats are bigger, and might have had to been 400 as it turned out.
Yeah. So a question that I look at with that test as well was it was the Gabba in January and relatively late January when most of the tests are played there in November. Correct. The wicket was decidedly different, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely flatter. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, Ian, tell us about the previous time I interviewed you on the show, Through the Eyes of a Cricketer, we brought you into Sydney. Remember that time we got you into the studios in Sydney when you were working?
Yep.
You talked a lot about World Series cricket and the way that started back in the 70s. You had some incredible stories about how you were brought into it and what transpired. Yep. Can you go through some of those for the viewers?
Yeah, well, I can remember Paul Hogan, the comedian, and Stroppy's offsider were coming over to New Zealand and were managing Dennis Lilly. And I didn't take any notice of that. But during the Centenary Test, that's Tomo, believe it or not. That's Tomo ringing me. During the Centenary Test on the Sunday, the rest day, I got a phone call from a bloke called Austin Robinson, who worked for PBL Marketing for Kerry Packer. And he rang me in my room and just said, would I be able to come downstairs and meet up with him at the Old Windsor Hotel? And he said, it's really serious. And I thought, what's going on? Anyway, I went down and I went up to the hotel and I met John Cornell, who is Paul Hogan's offsider. And he told me about the story. He said it'll be 3 months of the year. You'll probably be able to play for Australia still, and we're going to pay you $22,500. When I played the Centenary Test, we got paid $50 a day for 5 days. They had crowds of 100,000. And
so hang on, let me get this right. 22,500 compared to $50 a day.
For 3 years, for 12 weeks of the year. And we were all struggling because our employers were struggling to pay us while we were away, and we got $50 a day to play for Australia in the Centenary Test. And they had like 100,000 people for the first 2 or 3 days. So there was an issue. And to be honest with you, he said that Ian Chappell wants you to be in the Australian side. And Ian and I thought the world of Ian, and I just didn't think about it at 24 years of age. The other guys are a bit older than me, and I just said, yes, I'm in. But we had 8 days to make up our mind, but we were sworn to secrecy. and I ended up signing. And then we went on the Ashes tour about a month later, and we're still sworn to secrecy until September. But one night we went to Tony Gregg's house in England in 77, and a few of the boys got on the grog. Anyway, somehow it got out to the media team, and halfway through the tour, it got out, and then hell broke loose, and they wanted to send us home and, wanted to get rid of us. But myself and David Hooks were the two youngest guys on the trip, along with Mick Malone, who played one test. And the chairman of the Australian Cricket Board at the time was a guy called Tim Caldwell, who I knew very well. And Tim had actually got me up to Sydney from Nowra to play for Northern Districts. And he rang me in my hotel and said, well, I give him the courtesy of half an hour with him after the game at Trent Bridge, meet me in the board office behind the grandstand. And I did. And he said that he wanted myself and David Hooks and Mick Malone to break our contract with Kerry. He said, you're an idiot. You're throwing your test cricket away. We don't care so much about the other guys. They're all a lot older than you. The Chappells were 6 years older. Dougie was a lot older. But you and Hooksy, we want you to break your contract. And between you and I got the wobbly boot. And I thought, I've lost my test career. And he said, you could play a lot more test cricket. So 2 days later, I thought, I'm going to break the contract. And so did Hooksy, had the same feeling. And they said they pay all our legal fees and everything like that. So I was going to defect. And then all of a sudden, Kerry Packer must have heard about the ACB trying to do this. And Rod Mars said, Kerry Packer's flying to England tomorrow. He wants to meet us at the Dorchester Hotel and have a chat with us about what's going on. And anyway, so I thought, oh, God, he's found out. So I said to Hooksy, we're dead. We're two dead men, I'll tell you now. And Hooksy goes, no, he'll be right. He'll be right. He won't do anything. He wouldn't have a clue what we're doing. So we walk up into the Dorchester Hotel to the top floor, the penthouse. And I'm heading for the back seats. And Max Walker bounces me and Hooksy straight into the front seat of this little room, with these chairs. And I'm thinking we are so dead, And Hooksy kept saying, mate, he would not have a clue. He's too busy doing the TV stuff. So in he comes, 39 years of age. He's about 20 foot tall with these two big bodyguards. And he walks into the room and he said, I just came over here to assure you guys that I'm 100% into this. You're safe. I'm going to pay you like you should be paid. And everything's going to be great. But there's a couple of guys in this room that think they're going to break a contract with me. Well, Hooksy went down the chair. I went down the chair. And we almost collapsed. And he said, anybody who breaks a contract with me, I'll take their house, their car, their dog, their cat, whatever. And I thought to him, well, I don't own my house. I HP leased my car. But anyway, I'm beside myself. Anyway, so he looked me in the eye and he said, Davo, and I'd never met him before. He called me Davo. Are you in this thing or not? And I said, of course I'm in, Kerry. No worries at all. So, he said to Hooksy the same thing. He's gone, yeah, I'm in. So that was that. It was a good story, that when we're going to defect, and then he killed it.
But that's why he was such a successful businessman. He knew how to play it when he needed to, and hence he was successful. I'm sure you don't regret that now. You don't regret it now, do you?
I mean, it might have cost us a few a few tests for sure, but it changed the game, changed the game of cricket, and made players what they are today, earning big money. So the sacrifices we made, the 20 odd of us, or what it was for Australia, that's why guys are on $1 million contracts today. So no regrets, except I didn't get the million.
All right, there's a couple of questions we've got. It's about current day situations and we'll start with the Australian captaincy, Tim Paine, and his successor, whenever that will be. Alex Carey was announced today as the backup keeper, and with Matthew Wade being dropped. There's a lot of discussion around a bowler being captain, around Pat Cummins, for example. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts might be different to a lot of people, but I think Tim Paine did as well as he could. I think from what I see, he seems a good style of a guy and he seems to know the game well. I think he's done a good job up until that. But that was a hard game and I think he tried everything. I don't see someone straight away taking his place. I know Pat Cummins has been mentioned. I'm probably old school, but I don't really think fast bowlers make great captains. So I don't see a ready replacement. I think Head was one guy they had in mind and probably didn't get enough runs early on, but he's got a lot of ability.
Well, he's still in the squad. He's still in the squad.
He's still in the squad,
Matthew Wade's actually dropped.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah,
he's still in the squad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see an immediate replacement, but I think there is a push for Pat Cummins, and maybe that's the way it's going to go. And good luck to him. But I think Payne, has done a good job, and I think they picked the right bloke to go to South Africa. That's my opinion.
And I'm not far from thinking the same way as well. But I'm just trying to look at other teams where bowlers have been captains. I mean, there's been all-rounders like your Kapil Devs and your Imran Khans who are bowlers as well.
Yeah.
They're more of an all-rounders mould. I don't think Labuschagne's ready at all, and
No,
I think
maybe
that's
not.
a bizarre one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, he's a logical guy that could do it, but I don't know whether he's had the experience. He doesn't look to be the guy. Doesn't look to be the guy.
Captain at any level.
And Cummings comes across well. I mean, maybe, and he bats pretty well, so maybe he could do it. I mean, Imran did it, as you say, Kapil Dev. But I think he's the guy they want.
Right. Okay, I've got some other questions here. There's a lot of, Steve Smith was another one they all wanted to bring back and look over the situation. I don't think it's not a matter of him not being able to come back. I think he doesn't want to come back, actually. That's my impression.
I don't think they'll do it. Yeah.
What do you think of the current Indian players now? Your Virat Kohlis, your Rohit Sharmas.
I really like Gill a lot.
I
thought he'd get runs from the get-go. He looks a fantastic player. Obviously, Kohli's, one of the best of all time. I like the current captain. I really like the young bowler Siraj, is it? Siraj.
Siraj, yeah.
I like him a lot. He's a good player. I like Washington.
You said Shiraz. I think you said Shiraz. That might be a deliberate slip, is it? Or is that something about what you want to have after this? Or
that's exactly right. I like him a lot. I like his action. I like Washington. I think he's good. I thought, obviously, Pant. He's a character. I think. Just looking at him, I think he might be a bit of a character.
Oh, when he keeps.
He's a winner, isn't he? He's a game winner. I think they're a great side. Obviously, like the fast bowler who runs off the short run, I've had a blank.
Bumrah.
Like him a lot. Yeah, he's good. So, I'm a big rap for the Indian side.
Well, I'll be covering the England-India series, which is coming up only a matter of days away, a week or so away.
Yep.
That'll be exciting because, England have got some guns like your Ben Stokes and Jofra Archers and obviously both Anderson and Broad. They're going to have some firepower, but I think India will do them pretty well. I'm saying 3-1 or 3-0.
Yeah, I think India. And, I think it was great, those 4 new guys coming in. In hindsight, I think that was great. And they were polished, weren't they? And they gifted players. Gill, I think, can be a superstar.
I think so too. He's got the Nash.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. We've got viewers all over the world, of course. Now, I'm running with Mervyn Richards. I've told you I'm running a show with Antigua History. We'll have this concept of a Legends Day. I might get you on one day when we've got both Jeff and Doug and others from that era together. That would be a pretty dangerous conversation, letting you 3 loose. I'm pretty sure. Very dangerous,
yeah. Tomo just rang me, so he might be watching. So the phone just went.
Well, but both Jeff and Doug have been on there. They're subscribed, so their ears will be pricked now. I'll tell you what, they'll be listening in some way or another. I'm sure. Yeah. Actually, Dougie's got his own YouTube channel now, which I helped him create.
Wow.
Cricket with Doug Walters, and he's got a few going there, and I'm going to try and get some videos off that. What's that guy's name? That Rob Linda or whatever it's called. There's a website that.
I know the bloke you mean. Yeah. Yep.
Do you know Rob?
No, I don't know. I know who you're talking about, but I don't know. Yeah, but I think I don't want to say it in case Tomo and Dougie hear me, but they're great blokes. I don't want them to hear that, but you wouldn't be too nice of guys.
That sounds a bit diplomatic to me. I'm going to make sure I'm going to take this link and send it to them directly. All right.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
And we'll see what they got to say. No, but we'll have legends groups as we go along. And I mean, if I get the opportunity to get the West Indian angle going as well as I hope to do, there's every reason I can't just slip you into the conversation without them knowing. We might have you backstage and coming up front stage. You never know. It'd be good fun.
That'd be good. I'd enjoy that.
So let me have a look. I've got another question here. About the Australian cricket team yet again. And I guess one of the most significant things is forgetting their skills and ability, but about their mental changes or the mental state that they've been in. Because, as you know, over many decades, they were unbeatable at the Gabba.
Yeah.
And that was one of the major problems that other touring sides had. India have broken the shackles just now. And Australia does seem a little bit broken mentally because we had our best bowlers for the entire series. What's your thoughts?
I mean? Well, I think they're three fantastic bowlers. That's a great bowling attack. I mean, it's as good as we've had probably. I thought they looked a little tight, to be honest. And I noticed, I think Trevor Holmes said tonight they're looking to, change that around back to the way they were doing it before with the changing of the guard every 2 or 3 games. I thought Stark looked a little tired. I thought, they all looked a bit tired, to be honest, coming into that last test. They got a lot of overs. And I think you made a good point about the wicket. I think the wicket was different at the Gabba. It was a lot flatter. And I think we had the runs to do it, but it was just too hard. And so they're going to move the fast bowlers around going forward and give them a bit more of a spell. I thought they looked tired.
Well, that Jai Richardson didn't get a go. He's because of the T20 ODI. I think it's T20 ODI in New Zealand.
Yeah,
they've split the two groups up a bit, and they can't meet. And questions I'm getting asked is why can't some of the players who played in both sets? And I'm not sure what the story is behind that, but there's a distinction between the two.
Yeah. Well, I think Warner's proved that you can play all facets of the game, so it's not inconceivable that blokes can do that.
No, I mean, in your time, although there probably wasn't as much ODIs and T20s floating. In fact, there weren't any T20s, were there? There was only ODIs. Was there much of a clash for you guys? Did you feel it being too much?
We didn't play a lot. The 50-over game was something that probably Kerry brought in. I think I played in the first night game at the SCG and the first one in Melbourne, and that was the real 50-over game. And we didn't play that many. And it didn't seem as important, and even look at some of the shots the guys play today. The other comment I was making, when there's a run chase on, and, they've done a lot of work at the 2020 on working out how to score 100 off 50 balls. And so that strategy came into place a little bit in the last test match. And you saw blokes playing reverse sweeps and, falling over, hooking and whacking over third man. They're shots we never really thought about playing, So the game's changed. I think run chasers today are a lot more strategic. I think India knew they needed, 105 runs off 120 balls. And I think that last period they played it like a 20-20 or a 50-over game. And as I said, with the bigger bats and the ovals coming in a little bit, they're used to a run chase where we probably weren't back then.
Yeah, the reality is you've just talked about, look, they had to score 245 in the last 2 sessions and effectively 145 in the last session. Now, your Test cricket days, that would have been no hope.
That would have been, very hard, very hard. And I thought what they did well early in that game is they kept wickets intact. So, were they 3 out with 2 sessions to go? They planned it pretty well, but a lot of that strategy, I think, comes back to the 2020 where they know how to chase it down, know how many runs per over, and strategically, it's a different game.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, thanks for your time, man. It's been fantastic.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it. Is there any specific part of your career that, and you've just mentioned rooming with the likes of Dougie and even Jeff, something that springs to mind that you think the viewers would like to hear regarding those things? It can be a bit less cricket related too.
Yeah, well, I think today they come off the ground and have an ice bath and go through their physical work. We used to rush off to the dressing room, and it wasn't an ice bath; it was an ice bucket full of Tui's Gold or whatever. That's how we cooled down. So it's fairly different compared to today, where they cool down properly and we cool down with a quiet ale. So that's one story. I think we also
having been to Dougie's place just recently. I mean, there were probably about 900 beer cans in the corner, which worried me because I didn't see too many people there to be drinking them. So
yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. I think Dougie was just an amazing player. I remember the New Zealand tours, and Dougie's probably told you this. I think it was the '74 tour when he got 250, and he stayed up. I think he was 105 night out overnight. The first night had celebrated the night before anyway, but then went and celebrated all night till about midnight and got up and then got 250. I don't think those days happen today, but he did that, and there was a wholly different culture when we played, totally. But
so
I wouldn't
was that a match where Kerry O'Keefe played in that match too? I think he told
Kerry played. Late Gary Gilmore, who was a tremendous player. He played and he battled with Dougie, and Dougie came off, and I can remember his pads just, were full of sweat and I think alcohol. They just put them up in the window and let them dry for the day. But he was a freak. He was a freak.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you talk about Gary Gilmore, Doug Walters, even Rod Marsh himself. Pretty heavy with the drink.
Yeah, they like to drink or two. And but I mean, great players, and I think great cricket minds. I think Rod Marsh could have been a great cricket captain actually for Australia. I think it's sad they didn't get that opportunity. I really enjoyed playing. We played a few lesser games in England and in New Zealand when he was captain, and I really enjoyed playing under him. He had a really good cricket brain, Rod.
But was he often vice captain there?
Often vice captain, yes, but never got the big job. But would have done it well.
I mean, the fact that someone's vice captain, that can be virtually seen as a second captain, can't they?
Yeah.
All right, look, Ian, this is one of many sessions. I'll get you back when we've got a group together. I've had a few individual talks, but I think it's time we get a bunch of guys together and let you loose, so to speak.
That'd be great.
I'm concerned. I'll have the mute button going on regular basis.
Have the beeper ready. Yeah, the mute button ready for sure. Good to see you, mate.
All right, Ian, thanks for your time.
Good luck with the England-India series.
Yeah, and I'll get you back on again, Ian, so stay tuned.
Thank
you very much.
Good to see you, Nolly.
No worries.
Good on you, mate.
All right, take it easy. Just hit you a little button. They got a button there to turn you off. Thank you. Well, that was just fantastic. I mean, you guys probably are not as aware of Ian Davis as I am. He was a fantastic batsman, a great character. We've had Doug Walters, Jeff Thompson. I hope one day to go through the whole side and have a bunch of them together so we can delve into some of the great discussions that can happen when they're all together. We've also got Mervyn Richards in West Indies there, getting people together there. We're going to have some fabulous discussions over time. So please stay tuned. You'll see more of this on Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshak. So don't forget to view, like, and share. I'm sure most of you have subscribed already, but please share it to your colleagues and friends. Make them aware of this channel. Let's make it grow and have more of these great legendary guests such as Ian Davis on. So again, this is Norman Koshak, and thank you very much for your time on Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshak. Goodbye, guys.